All right, welcome to the show. It is a little bit earlier than what we're usually on for because of the fact that we have recordings taking place in the studio tonight at about 10 o'clock, so I've got to get this done a little bit earlier than what we're usually used to. Welcome to the show. If you've never been here before, if you want to ask questions about the forecast, drop them into the comments section. If you're, again, looking for something a little more jazzy, we do not really feature that here. We mainly talk about weather for in and around the News 12 viewing area. We're coming to you live and direct from Chattanooga, Tennessee tonight. And again, that's the home of the News 12 studios in downtown Chattanooga. You can catch us on our social media channels and giving you more details about what's going on with the forecast in the next couple of days, which we'll get to in just a little bit. Below normal on the high temperature, just about right spot on for the low temperature this morning, so not doing too bad on the numbers there. No rainfall since midnight, and we've got a 1/4 of an inch surplus. We're behind by exactly 6.5 inches of rain, so we could definitely use some more rain. We would need at least an inch per month in the next 6 months to the end of the year just to break even at this point in time, give or take, for a possibility there. It's been a droughtful situation. We'll take a look at the drought forecast coming up a little later. Out and about on the golf course tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, dry, comfortable, should be good weather for getting out and about for golf or a swim or anything else, but this will be your last best chance to get things done on the outside without getting interference from rain and thunderstorms, as we see those coming back into the forecast in the course of the next several days. So if you have outdoor plans, Friday's going to be your best bet, but anything past Saturday morning daybreak, get set for some interruptions because it's not looking good for outdoor stuff. Heading into the rest of the evening, got bright star, I believe Venus, up into the western skies. Beautiful post-sunset view off across the waters of Lake Chickamauga at Island Cove. A few folks out and about on the waters for tonight. 80 degrees. More importantly, look at those dew point temperatures, some 15 degrees cooler than what we saw yesterday at this point. So no heat index, low humidity values, comfortable, dry. It's been a beautiful day today, been a beautiful evening. We've got the remnants of that last cold front pushing the thickest local smoke at bay, but you can see very clearly where the plumes are. And unfortunately, as that area of drier weather continues to kind of fall apart by just a little bit, notice the smoke plumes are starting to refill the air. So it's clearer than what it was, but it's not totally clear from what we used to have. So we're still getting some of those pollutants out across the area, and we're still going to see more of that as high pressure tries to drill in a little bit more of that taking place here, that dry air coming down out of Canada and the Great Lakes. Air quality overall, the good news at this time is that we are at the green or good level. Yesterday we were at yellow or moderate. Now we do have some amounts of pollutants out there, particle pollution and gas pollution. This looks high on carbon monoxide until you remember that this is 196 parts per billion. So carbon monoxide is a little bit higher. And again, the dust pollens out there, the soil, and the smoke are not as bad as they were a couple of days ago. So air quality overall is doing a lot better than what it was just a couple of days ago. Temperatures near the top of the hour were mainly in the 70s, some 60s into the Blue Ridge, some 80s into northeastern parts of Alabama tonight. The really hot weather down to the Gulf Coast. Excuse me, and all the way over toward the Delta and into the south central United States west of the Mississippi. Now what we've got, our latest front dropping down to nearly Florida, bracketed by two areas of high pressure, which means that that cold front is now basically kind of sandwiched in place, and it's just going to kind of wash out in the atmosphere in the next couple of days. Now high pressure again rotates the air around high pressure in the northern hemisphere, rotates clockwise. So as this moves east, Winds turn out of the south, and that's going to resupply the moisture-rich air again, so the humidity is going to be on its way back once again, and then this system starts to move our direction as we get into the weekend. That is where we start seeing the problems with our next system coming on through. Very hot down toward the Gulf Coast, not quite so much here. Saturday morning, right around daybreak, that's when we start to get the rainfall chances really starting to ramp up. And then that system slows down and drops a stationary front over the area, which is going to kind of wobble back and forth, which is going to help stir up even more activity starting next week early and sticking around for the next several days. Now, into the weekend, there is going to be the possibility of some severe weather. Notice in the upper right-hand corner where the cursor is located, this is a 1 out of 5 marginal threat of severe weather. So this is not anything in the way of a major severe weather outbreak. But the Storm Prediction Center is showing areas north of the Tennessee line, North Tennessee, Kentucky, South Indiana, Southwest Ohio. That could be a very good possibility for more, if not a lot, of tornadoes. So we've got a lot to watch this weekend. Outdoor activities, again, Friday's your best bet, because after that, we're not getting too lucky on the outdoors forecast anytime soon. Temperatures tonight could be some more widespread 50s, Blue Ridge into the Appalachians. Rest of the area should be in the 60s. Warmest conditions, lower elevations, Georgia, Tennessee River Valley, and parts of the area back around northeast Alabama. Temperatures tomorrow, thanks to the extra sunshine coming on through, numbers will be back in the higher 80s to the lower 90s. Not looking at blazing hot conditions, but it will definitely be a little bit more on the uncomfortable side as we get into tomorrow. And then the clouds and the rainfall do a good job of filtering out the sunshine and making things a little bit less blazing hot for a few days. Dry, dusty air coming in from off the Sahara Desert. Not seeing anything else in the way of good development for any place across the Atlantic Basin, from the Gulf to Africa. Tropical cyclone formation not expected during the next week, so says the National Hurricane Center. What's left of Fausto is now just wandering clouds in the central Pacific. That fell apart yesterday. The National Hurricane Center issued its last advisory on Fausto 24 hours ago. And then we have Genevieve, which was a Category 5 hurricane last weekend, but now that is going to be diminishing into a tropical storm, and then it just is going to fall apart because it's heading over the colder waters and drier air of the eastern Atlantic, and it is not a threat to the Hawaiian Islands anytime soon. So looking very good at this time, and not seeing any threat at this point. Once Genevieve falls apart, that's it for anything involving tropical conditions around any portion of the Atlantic or the Pacific. There's not much of anything going on. Remember that we are right at the beginning of hurricane season. We're now 2.5 months in the Pacific, and just about 2 months in to the area around portions of the Atlantic. So we still have a long way to go. Hurricane season ends December 1st, so we have several more months before that starts to clear up out there. It is a special day, not in a good way, when it comes to the environment. Today is Earth Overshoot Day. If you've ever been overdrawn at the bank and you've had to get more money to cover your loss to make certain you have a positive balance, that's what this day is all about. If all of us on Earth used our natural resources to where they would finish up properly, equal for everybody on December 31st, we would have basically nothing to worry about. Things would be in balance. But in this case, and it keeps getting earlier every single year as we keep using more and more resources, this used to be in September. Last few years, last couple of decades, it's been in August. Now it is into July, which means we are spending next year's resources to cover for this year's spending habits, so to speak, when it comes to natural resources. So this is a very not good situation out there. Again, our demand overtakes the supply into what the planet can give us in regeneration of anything involving what we need to survive on this planet. If you'd like to find out more, United Nations, several other places have a great deal of information, and you can find out more at the website dedicated to this at earthovershootday.info. Very good place to go for information. Or you can go to the United Nations Environment Program to find out more details about why this is so important to every person on spaceship Earth. Something to think about as we need to consider our environment more and more often, and consider letting our elected leaders know how important this type of thing is to us and why we need to focus on this to make certain that our planet stays livable and we can actually live on this planet. So something to really think about there. Not much going on tonight. Leftover sunlight from sunset at Island Cove Marina and Resort. Now we may see the possibility of a marginal risk of flash flooding Saturday into Sunday, and then chances of showers and thunderstorms remain in the forecast as we get into the next several days. That will have a very nice effect on our temperatures. So that will be looking quite nice across much of the region. At least, again, going into August, we're not blazing hot triple digits, which can happen at this time of the year. So below normal going into August, I will take that with no problem whatsoever across any of the region there. So hopefully temperatures looking a little bit nicer across much of the area for the next few days. And we'll keep you updated on that forecast as we go through the weekend and beyond. Our weather poll question of the day yesterday was kind of a tough one, so I threw kind of a gimme in the works for our poll sponsored by Williams Plumbing. If you'd like to vote in our polls, go to our website, wdef.com/vote now. Thunder, the after effect of lightning, moves at the speed of light or sound or molasses in January. That last one was kind of a giveaway right there. And again, thunder is a shock wave of energy after the lightning strike cooks the air around it to 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That superheated air has got to go someplace very quickly, expands as a shock wave known as thunder, which expands at the speed of sound, which give or take is about 730 miles per hour, depending on conditions, depending on moisture in the air, depending on what time of year it is, depending on which latitude you're at, stuff like that. But the thunder shock wave moves at the speed of sound. Thanks to everybody for voting in our poll. We'll have our Pick the Pick poll coming up tomorrow at wdef.com/vote now. So stay tuned for more on that as we go into Friday. Rest of the forecast, again, decently quiet for the morning. Temperatures could be a bit on the cool side. I really hesitate to say that it's going to be jacket weather, but with a few 50s out around portions of the area, might actually be needing a jacket in some locations, so you may want to keep that handy in portions of the higher elevations. Chip Chapman has got your forecast coming up on the morning show, so stay tuned for that, and we'll keep you informed about your forecast into the weekend there. That should do it for our poll, our weather's update, our 7-day forecast, and everything else on News 12 for Weather Overtime for Thursday. I'm going to send it back to your regularly scheduled Thursday activities, as it is about 5 till 10 Eastern Time, and the studio is about to light up here to where we will be doing our recordings for the next few minutes. So I've got to go ahead and hop off here and make certain everything's taken care of for the 11 o'clock show and beyond. That should do it for this evening. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Chip Chapman has got your forecast coming up on the morning show. And, of course, we'll have more throughout the weekend on air and online on News 12. Again, thanks for joining us for Weather Overtime for Thursday evening.